Thank you so much, Amrit. Thank you, everyone, for coming together for yet another Institute for Change Leaders training. Very excited to see all of you again this evening. So welcome back. And our lecture today is focused on recruitment. So a very important part of organizing is, of course, building your team. So we're going to talk all about that today. Of course, before we get into the learning and the sharing and the practicing, we of course want to acknowledge the land that we are on and that we are coming from today. I myself and ICL TMU is located in Toronto, or Toronto as it's known colonially today. And Toronto is on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee speaking nations, which includes the Huron-Wendat, the Petun, the Senecas, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. This territory is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty. This is an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe and other allied nations to peaceably care for the lands and the relationships around the Great Lakes. And when we think about relationships, which we'll be talking about a lot today, we're not just thinking about the relationships between us as humans, we're also thinking about relationships with our animal friends, our plant life, our other than human beings that exist on this land, that feed this land, that generate this beautiful place for us to live. So we're taking care of all of those relationships within this treaty. So it really means that we live here, we work here, and we each have a responsibility to the environment, to the land, to each other, and to treat each other with peace, friendship, and respect. And this is our third time together, and I feel so much compassion, passion, love, and respect among all of you. Even virtually, I can feel it emanating from your computer screens, and I feel it in the breakout groups. So thank you for bringing that to this online training community. It's really great to see. Okay. As per usual, we're going to get things started with an icebreaker. This one is a little bit different. So we're asking you to grab one object that brings you joy. Try to grab something that's near you, but if you have to run and grab something and come right back, you can do that. So in our breakout groups, we're going to reintroduce ourselves and share one thing near us that brings you joy. And I'm just going to say no phones, something else. So Amrit will put us into icebreaker groups. Okay, well, I heard someone talking about chocolate. So that's definitely something that also brings me joy. And maybe I'll have a little after this session today. So I hope you all enjoyed that little show and tell, more interactive breakout group. Lots of fun. So quick look at our agenda so that you know what to expect with the training today. We're talking, as I said, about recruitment, building teams, building relationships. So we're going to talk together what holds a team together, why and how do we build relationships, and then we'll get into the recruitment one-on-one meetings, how to do an effective one-on-one meeting. Then we'll have a special guest. It's Olivia, hopefully joining us to do a fishbowl. Again, that's where you have an example of the one-on-one meeting. We'll give you a break, as always, a quick one, but a break nonetheless. And then we'll go into our breakout group for the later part of the session where we will practice recruiting each other. And that practice, that breakout group is really important for you to practice the components of the one-on-one that we're going to learn today. All right, let's get cooking. So Amrit was going to try to do a poll for us. No,
Unfortunately, that didn't function on
That's
my
totally fine.
call.
Let's use the hand raise feature or just a physical hand. How many of you have recruited someone before? So you can raise your hand or virtual hand. Just to get a bit of an idea. I'll put my hand up. So we have lots of experience here. I'm seeing many, many people putting their hands up, both virtually and the hand raising feature, right? So that's excellent. Many of us are already coming to this session with a great deal of knowledge and a great deal of experience when it comes to recruitment. And that's very helpful. So please feel free to share your wisdom, your knowledge, and your experience with us throughout the lecture. You can use the chat function, or you can raise your hand at any time that you would like to share. So that's great. We're not starting from scratch, right? We understand the basic concepts of recruiting someone, right? What is the basic concept of recruiting someone? At the very core, what is it? Firdaus.
To me, I would say, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. You can be me today.
I apologize. I'm driving and I didn't see the hands up. I would say the knowledge, expertise, and connection.
Excellent. Yes. So you're sharing your knowledge, your expertise, and you're making a connection, right? You're asking someone to join you, right? So at the core of the recruitment is you're extending an invitation, right? You're asking someone to join you and to take on some responsibility. So how do we do that effectively, right? In a way that supports our organizing efforts in an effective way. So where do relationships fit in with organizing, with change making, with advocacy work? Relationships are how we reach our people, right? So when we think of the organizing statement, it goes, I am organizing who, your people, to accomplish what goal, by doing which strategies and tactics, by which timeline, right? And you're going to learn all about theory of change on September 20th when we do strategy. But your people, right? Those relationships, the stronger they are, the more effective we are at meeting that goal, right? And setting up strategies and tactics that help us meet that goal, right? So our people, we connect with those people through our relationships. So it's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Interrupt. I'm just not sure if Janet has their hand raised. If it's a question or a comment. Oh, they put it down. Never mind.
Thanks, Janet. That was an old hand, right? From before. Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Amrit. So let's discuss what holds a campaign together. We would love to hear from you because many of you have experience already in advocacy work, in campaigns and organizing. So what holds a campaign together? What do you think? And I'm gonna just go out of present mode so that we can populate the sticky notes. You can feel free to turn your microphone on or use the chat, and our chat moderators and Amrit will copy them over to our slide here. Shared commitment. When you're touched by an issue. Okay, so having passion, having compassion for the issue and the people affected by the issue, right? That commitment, right, holds a campaign together. Having a common purpose or a common goal helps to hold a campaign together. Absolutely. Timelines. Timeliness. Okay. Timeliness. So when we are responding to a crisis, when we are responding to something that is extremely urgent. That can create a lot of forward motion for our campaign, which can make us stronger. Absolutely. Accountability, what a great one. So when we have a shared sense of accountability towards the campaign and towards the issue that we're fighting for, it can help us stick together. These are amazing. Collaboration, yes. So when everybody who's involved has an opportunity to voice their opinion, to share their resources, to share their own knowledge, right? So when we collaborate and make space for that collaboration, then we're again stronger together. Measuring progress, I love that one. Who said that one? That's a great one. When we're able to, as a campaign, as a team, acknowledge and measure and celebrate our progress and our wins, that can help keep us going, right? So these are all really relevant to holding a campaign together, right? Making it all work. And anybody who's involved in organizing, all of us here today, we're all trying to do this, right? We're all trying to make a shared commitment, find a common purpose, set goals, right? Come up with strategies. And once you see it all on the slide, it looks like a lot, right? So while each one of these things does work to hold the campaign together, when you look at all of it, it can become overwhelming. Oh, we've got to do a lot to keep this campaign together. So let's look at it in a bit of a simpler sense of what holds a campaign together. It's that commitment, right? And it's when we have a shared commitment with our people, right? So we can't have that commitment with our people without relationships, right? So those relationships, as I said earlier, are the key to holding the campaign together, because the commitment comes from relationship with your people, right? Not just knowing their name and knowing, this person is good at cold calling, right? Or this person is good at door knocking, but actually knowing each other, actually having a relationship, sitting down and sharing food with each other, right? That type of relationship building ensures that the commitment is there. We're going to show up for each other. And that commitment is the glue. So what happens when we don't have those relationships, when we don't make time for building relationships and getting to know each other? What happens to the commitment? If there are any guesses in the chat box, please read them out to me. I'm not looking at it.
It wanes, it goes away, because I think it's the connections and the relationship building that keeps the commitment together. And when you don't do that, it has to be renewed. It has to be renewed every time. Every time you make a connection, that commitment is renewed. And once you stop making those connections, it waxes and wanes because of that.
Exactly. Very, very well said. Thank you so much for sharing. And you're absolutely right. It falls apart. And we, it's sad when this happens, and it does happen, because when we looked at the earlier slide, right, with all of the different ways that you keep a campaign together, there's so much to do that we don't always prioritize the relationships, right? But it's those relationships that keep us coming back and that keep that commitment strong. So when the relationships falls apart, the commitment wanes, just as you said. Very on the nose.
Lindsay, I'd just like to add one thing is that, in my earlier life, I had a job of recruiting volunteers, and this was maybe 20 years ago. And everything I tried, I failed. And I was like amazed because, I used to be a people's person, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And after a lot of scrutiny, I realized that it's, when we are recruiting volunteers or friends or people to advocate for us, it's always about our agenda, right? But we seldom stop to think what is in it for them. And when I reached success, when I turned that and I said, what, what can this do for you? So, and I got people interested. And so I'm just saying that's a different strategy that I use, but it did work.
That's an amazing strategy. And we're actually going to talk about that as a recruitment strategy, right? So not having it be so transactional, but making that transformational relationship where your volunteer is building their own skills, making their a stronger network, right? So you're absolutely right. It's not just about what we want, right? It's about what our volunteers need as well, right? And oftentimes volunteers are coming out for that relationship. I know when I'm volunteering for Olivia, it's because I want to hang out with Olivia and all of the wonderful people working with Olivia. Just one example. So because many of us already have some experience, I'd love to know, what are some of the best practices that you have seen or used when working with volunteers, or what have you experienced yourself as a volunteer, right? And then on the flip side, what are some problems that you've experienced or that you've experienced yourself as a volunteer? And I'm gonna again just come out of present mode. There we go. So please use the chat or feel free to turn your microphone on and share with us. What are some of the best practices for volunteers and what are some of the problematic ones?
There are some thoughts that are being shared in the chat. So one of them is consistent touch, appreciation for their work. Mariam said that. And Firdaus wrote clarity in role and expectations. Again, Mariam wrote provide incentives, awards. Justin wrote training and clear expectations. Then there is Sumera writing encouragement. Then there is somebody that says a student's iPhone. So my apologies, I can't see the name. It says problems. Okay, that's the problem section. I'll read it at that time. Then Mariam wrote be understanding of their situations. Justin wrote debriefing. Shaheen Ashraf recognizing their abilities. Khadija always showing gratitude to volunteers since they are not paid, include their voice and visibility. Jackie wrote, do not overwork a volunteer and watch for burnout. And then we got Janet saying know their names. Mary Jane wrote, make sure you tell them how much you appreciate them and their work. Farida, recognition of volunteers. Sakina, hours completion and learning skills. Sumera, training and developing soft skills. Mariam, help them achieve their goals, providing references.
Yes.
Nina, problem. Okay, those are problems, never mind. And
Let's
then
move on to the problems actually, because we have a lot of excellent best practices here. I can, you are all very experienced in supporting volunteers. These are all best practices that we're going to talk about today. What are some of the problems you've experienced?
So there's one problem written by Nina here, cliques among the volunteers and hard to become part of the group. And then there is another one. Burnout, overcommitment. And then lack of commitment, Sumera wrote. Then there's Janet saying if they are in it for the wrong reasons. Jackie, volunteers with availability outside of usual work hours, therefore no work for them to do. Language generation gaps could be an issue. Balancing multiple commitments, Nuzhat wrote. Politics, Shaheen wrote, I find it hard to find volunteers. Sakina, false hopes from the organization.
I'd love to hear more about that, false hopes from the organization.
And I think I'll just insert one comment from my prior experience. Sometimes there is a no-show, people commit, but there is a no-show. Saima wrote, hard to keep volunteers excited, motivated. Janet wrote, matching skills of volunteers to organization needs.
Yes.
This is Nina. I would say look at all the best practices and just say the negative part of it. Say, they're not appreciated. You're not grateful for them being there. You don't include their voice. You don't provide incentives. You're not encouraging. You don't know their names. Like, there's just so many ways you can make a volunteer feel not welcome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out, Nina, because I was seeing that as well, right? So lots of the problematic practices stem from not doing the best practices, right? So when we're not initiating the best practices, the problematic things start to happen, right? So how can we increase the commitment of our volunteers when we don't know their names, when we don't feed them, right? When they come to volunteer, we have nothing to offer them to eat or a snack or a drink of water, right? So that was a really great point, Nina. Khadija, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I have been pitching using these negative issues where the gaps are. And so come and volunteer at a place where your voice will be heard. You'll get training in leadership. So, that type of stuff. And my issue is igniting the fire within the volunteer to get them involved. Yes, and I think rewards I volunteered for decades, so I know how I've been exploited in various organizations here.
Sure.
So that is my learning where I try to reverse that. So I think it's important that we reward them in kind or training or something where they can actually use that on their resume or moving forward in starting something of their own, or if it's a mutual aid, taking and giving. So I'm just looking into things like that.
And there is one remark from Sumera. It says volunteering at the wrong place, having no real reason to be involved, maybe just to earn community hours. Mm-hmm. So that could be something in the problem section as well.
Yeah. Interesting, for sure. So what do you do when you have a volunteer who's doesn't match with your organizational goals, right? Yeah, that's a tricky one for sure. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Thank you, Anam, for reading from the chat, and Amrit, thank you for scribing. I'm sorry, I also was scribing. That was my fault. This is excellent. So we have so much knowledge to share, and I think this is a really good way for us to enter into, the rest of our lecture. And to really situate relationships as central. So what is a relationship to you? What's your understanding of relationships? And again, if you're typing in the chat, Anam will read it out to us. So what's a relationship within organizing or advocacy work? Within your work, what are relationships?
So there is Faria writing communication.
Mm-hmm.
Farida writing know them and their families. Sumera mutual commitment. Nuzhat connection. Khatija a two-way street of giving and receiving. Firdaus caring enough.
Yes. Fun, right?
Sakina, shared goals. Janet, taking opportunities to greet and speak with people, listen.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie, always look them in the eye when discussing a topic.
Excellent. Yeah, so relationship, thank you so much, Anam. We're going to keep going.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Do you want to do one
there
more?
There are a few comments, a few more comments. And Nuzat checking in with people. Shaheen having an understanding of the other. Then there is mutual appreciation of contributions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. Right. So we understand how to nurture these relationships, right? We understand that relationships require connection. They require reciprocal, back and forth, doing things for each other, supporting each other when needed, having those shared goals and a shared commitment, right? So relationships are not transactional. Relationships, we want them to be deeper than that, right? We want to connect on a deeper level. And we also can do that when we share our stories, right? The last week's training, when we did our story sharing, we were building relationships with each other because we're getting to know each other and what brought us here, right? So when we're building relationships, when we're getting to know each other, right? So when you first start recruiting someone, you're starting to build that relationship. You're uncovering what are our shared values, what skills do you have, what resources can you offer, or can we offer you, right? Can we help you build your skills? What's our shared purpose, our shared growth and learning, and most importantly, our commitment, right? And so this is what we want to achieve with our one-on-one recruitment meetings, right? We know that relationships matter because they're the glue that keeps our campaign together. They help us keep that commitment very strong. When we build relationships, we build the power of our organization. We build the power of our team or our chapters. We connect with our constituency, so our people, right? When we're building up our team, it helps us to revitalize, right? If we've become stagnant as our team, going back to our relationships, always leaning back on our relationships, right? To help us through those ebbs and flows of organizing, those ups and downs of wins and losses, right? Building relationships helps us to also expand when the time is right. Right, so this is a survey from volunteers who were involved with the Obama campaign. So the volunteers who were involved in the 2008 campaign and returned to volunteer again 4 years later in 2012 said they came back because of relationships. They came back because their organizer treated them with respect. They felt welcomed and included. Their time was used effectively, right? They had a clear sense of how their efforts contributed to the overall goals of the organization. And they built meaningful relationships, right? So these were all pretty much mentioned already when we were talking about best practices, right? We know that having those deeper relationships with our volunteers and really prioritizing that brings people back, right? And keeps their commitment at a high level. Okay, relationships and organizing. I don't know if it's a detour because it's kind of, we've been talking about it, but let's go with it. How do we build these relationships? Let's talk about the one-on-ones. We're going to be practicing one-on-one recruitment in our breakout session. Again, take that opportunity to really practice your skills of having a one-on-one, getting to know the person on a more, intimate level. So you can have a one-on-one at a coffee shop, at a library, at the park, anywhere that is conducive to being able to hear each other. I mean, you're not going to want to have a one-on-one at a loud bar. House meetings, inviting people over. Olivia is pretty much famous for this. She invites people into her beautiful home. She has food, always have food. That's my number one tip for recruitments and building relationships. Having organizational meetings and having team meetings as well. These are all opportunities for us to strengthen and build our relationships. The one-on-one is so important because it allows people an opportunity to recommit or to make an initial commitment to each other, to the organization, to the goals, right? It's stronger than just committing to an idea or a task, right? You're committing to your people, right? And the goals, not just, yeah, I'm going to commit to come to one event, but I'm going to commit to building this relationship together. It allows us to create new relationships, to get to know, what networks we have access to, how we can open more doors, how we can connect with our allies. And it's an opportunity for us to provide a foundation for collective engagement, right? So to feel that that opportunity to voice our opinions, to share our ideas, and to be heard and valued for the time that we're putting in to this work, right? So one-on-ones are so important for these reasons.
There is a comment by Farida. It says, be courteous and encourage.
Yes. Thank you, Farida. Absolutely. Encouragement is key because oftentimes when we are recruiting people, when we're working with volunteers, sometimes we're asking them to do things that are out of their comfort zone, right? And so having someone encouraging them, not just throwing a clipboard at them and saying off on your own, but being there with them and being, a support in that way. So excellent point. With the one-on-one, and this is a little throwback to when ICL met in person, which feels like a very long time ago. So we did lots of drawings. This is relationship building 101, right? When you're having a one-on-one with someone, a new volunteer or a volunteer that you're trying to re-energize, you want to give them your attention. Let them know that you want to be having this conversation with them. Look them in the eye, make eye contact, right? Show your interest and then explore, right? Explore what they're hoping to get out of the experience. What skills do they have? What are their interests? What's their experience, right? And their resources. Right? Sometimes you, in a one-on-one meeting, you find out something about a volunteer that's been volunteering for 5 years. You find out, oh, they're a professional baker, right? And that's a resource. That's a skill that can be used in organizing. And you wouldn't have known that if you didn't take the time to explore your relationship with this volunteer. And it's back and forth. You're exchanging ideas. You're not grilling your volunteer to tell them about their skills and their resources, but you're telling them also what they can get out of this opportunity. And it ends with a commitment, right? Usually we try to end with a hard ask. So we're asking them, can you commit to attending a phone bank or a canvas, right? And so that's the 101, if you will, of relationship building in a one-on-one meeting. So a one-on-one is a public relationship. You're not making a new best friend. It's a public relationship within the organization, right? So this can help to avoid those cliques that we talked about. A one-on-one is probing. So it's not, you have a point and a purpose for the conversation. You want to get to know, how can you best utilize this volunteer's time? It's purposeful in that when you're asking specific questions. It's scheduled. So the volunteer is aware, or the prospective volunteer is aware that this meeting is happening and that the meeting is specifically about how they want to be involved in the campaign or the organization. And it's about commitments and commitments to specific actions, right? So you want it to be a focused meeting. You don't want to take, their time and your time and miss out on the opportunity to explore and to get a commitment. So it's not an intimate relationship. Like I said, they're not your new best friend, no matter how cool you think they are. I've learned this lesson myself in organizing. It's not prying or grilling. It's not chit chat. It's not by accident, and it's not vague, right? And I think, based on the best practices that you shared earlier, I feel like you have a lot of this knowledge already. So today, let's practice. So the purpose of the one-on-one is to turn prospective volunteers into regular volunteers, or like I said, to reignite existing volunteers and to bring them back in on a more consistent basis. The 3 points of your one-on-one: to connect, to explore each other's interests and resources and shared purpose, right? And then commitment. You want to end with a hard ask and a specific commitment that you probably have in mind going into the meeting, right? Maybe you have 3 possibilities, and after you have your one-on-one and you get to know a little bit more about the person, you can pick an opportunity that best matches their skills and interest. I hope I'm not going too fast or running out of time completely. Please let me know if I am.
You're doing great on time, Lindsay.
Oh, thank you, Felicia. That's good to hear. So maintenance one-on-one. So the purpose of this is to nurture existing relationships, to coach each other in finding solutions. So you want to maybe address potential issues that are arising, debrief, troubleshoot, and plan together, and reconfirm commitment and acknowledge success. So this is a one-on-one meeting that you would be having with an existing volunteer. Escalation. So let's say you have a team member who is coming to all of your meetings, attending multiple events, they've showing tons of leadership, tons of potential, and you want them to take on more responsibility. So this is an escalation one-on-one where you're trying to support that person into a leadership, maybe a leadership role. The first and foremost is to celebrate and acknowledge their success and what they've contributed, right? So specific celebration of you've done this, you have contributed to our purpose in our organization. This is how your time has impacted us and helped us to reach our goals, right? So that they know they're appreciated. You always want to share that appreciation before you ask someone to do more. You want to frame the ask in a way that shows them that they're already doing it, right? You're already doing an amazing job, and that this is, the next logical step for them in the organization, and that it could open other doors for them, right? Like we mentioned earlier, possibilities of references and so on. And then you want to clearly lay out what their new responsibilities might be and what the next steps might be, right? So you're not just dangling this opportunity, you're actually presenting the opportunity and how they can accept it and how they can move into that leadership opportunity. So why is relationship building scary? What's scary about building relationships? And of course, you can turn your microphone on to chat with us or use the chat box and Anam will read it for us. This is a great picture. This man looks terrified. What's scary about building relationships? What if people don't like us? I'm always worried about that.
Yeah, Firdaus wrote, fear of rejection. Nina, you're exposing yourself to someone you don't know yet.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What if they reject us, right?
Then there is vulnerability, fear of making mistakes, misunderstanding by Saima, Fawzia, vulnerable new people. Firdaus, will I have the time to sustain this relationship? Nina, it takes time and effort. Sumaira, past bad experience. Then there is how to communicate. Sakina, commitment.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, I mean, let's acknowledge that what we're talking about today, recruitment, building relationships, it is scary because we are in a vulnerable place. The person might say no. We might have to have a one-on-one where we're doing conflict resolution. And so we're maintaining a relationship that's fractured. These things are not easy and we do make mistakes sometimes, right? We all make mistakes sometimes when we're building relationships and organizing because we're so passionate about what we are trying to achieve, right? And the relationships are so important within that organizing structure that there's a lot on the line, right? If we mess up, like everything could fall apart. But you have to, you have to remember the experiences that you've had so far. You all have a lot of knowledge already about relationships and organizing, right? So part of it is pushing past that anxiety and really relying on this training and other trainings that you've received about building relationships in an organizing context, right? Don't second guess yourself. And when in doubt, provide food. Always have gluten-free and vegan options. So recruitment one-on-one, the deep dive. So this is a bit of a refresher, right? We're going to get ready for our breakout groups and our fishbowl. You want to turn your prospective volunteers into regular volunteers. In your one-on-one recruitment meeting, you're going to connect, explore, commit, right? Connect, explore, commit. When you're connecting, you're introducing yourself, maybe sharing part of your story, providing context, and you're emphasizing your common values, right? You're emphasizing your shared values about the issue that you're addressing. You're exploring interests and resources, right? So understanding what their interests are, what their skills are, and what they can bring to your team. Digging into what motivates them, what drives them, what is their story, right? And then checking their availability, right? This is really important because if the person is only available once a week, right, we need to know that. If they have much bigger availability, that's great, right? So definitely want to check time and availability. And then you want to get to the commitment, right? The one-on-one recruitment meeting is pointless if you don't have a commitment or a hard ask, right? So you want to present the challenge. We're having a gala and we need people there to talk about this campaign.
I think we just lost Lindsay.
Okay, because I thought it was just me, but no, okay.
No, it's everybody. She'll be back in a sec, but we have Olivia in the meantime.
Hi. Poor Lindsay. What happened to her? Oh no. Hey, wonderful to see all of you. Let me tell you, Lindsay have recruited a lot of volunteers in her days. Emre, if you could show the slide deck, I could pick up the deep dive on one-on-one. If you can, and I could continue pick up. Now, once I finish talking about the concept, okay, then I'll be doing an example. I'm going to be recruiting one of you, and I'll just find someone, or volunteer someone, but tell me what you want me to recruit the person to do, okay? I'm looking for suggestions. Let me do the recap, and if you could, if I am to do a demonstration, think about what you want me to recruit that person to do, okay? And I might volunteer Khadija or something, because she's worked with a lot of volunteers. Let me recruit her to do something, okay? You think about what? So because I can only remember 3 things, you're not even 5. I can remember 3. So I'm going to remember 3 things: connect, explore, commit. Quite often we start with saying, hey, Emre, can you come join me? We are going to this meeting. It's going to be quite exciting, but we go straight up to the commitment. Hang on. Or we spend the huge amount of time saying, oh, this meeting is going to be so important. We need volunteers, and the cost is so, and it will move the council forward so much, and and it has a great speaker. I'm just explaining. I'm not connecting with you. So 60-70% of the time is establishing that connection. It's so counterintuitive because we're so excited about what we want the people to do. We spend 60-70% of the time saying, yeah, please join me, please join me. No, don't do that. Spend most of the time connecting and exploring about that person. Connect through telling each other a story about yourself. Why are you connected with this cause or this event or this thing that you want the person to help you do? What motivates you? This is where the narrative comes in. That's where your story comes in. That's where vulnerability came in. I see all of this, right? In the past, you say, yeah, you want to connect and find out what motivates that person. What is their core value? What's your core value? The minute that connection happens, my gosh, you are going to form a bond that will last you for a long, long time, right through the entire campaign. Because some campaign is so hard. Some campaigns I've been involved with is like 25 years, 20 years. This is trying to get the federal government to apologize for racist behavior on immigration, and which I will talk about later. A 23 years campaign. But the bond is so important because we share each other's core value. I understand why that person is being involved, and then I go and explore their interests. That person may just, you want them to make some phone calls for you. Maybe that person is really good in art, or maybe that person is a wonderful cook. Maybe they love to do other things. So you want to holistically find out about the person. It's not just they can make some phone calls for you, okay? So what else do they like to do? What is their favorite Netflix movie or TV series? What's yours? So they find out more about you, not just you as the volunteer coordinator, not you just as the campaign manager or whatever. Lindsay's coming back in. It's exploring who they are and have them understand who you are. Okay, connect, explore, then ask. Okay. Next slide.
Yeah, there is a suggestion by Shaheen Ashraf on the cause, Meals on Wheels.
Yeah, I'm going to keep going. Anand, actually, I also read the chat also. So, but thank you. Yes. So before you get ready, think about what story you want to share. Find out what is your core value, what is your hope. You can help each other find the courage to act and move from isolation to solidarity. Next slide. And you can build a meaningful relationship. You can act together. Every meeting is unique because every person is unique. Next slide. And think about what you don't know about the person. What would you hope to learn from that person? Set your goal for the hard ask. Am I asking them to join me on something? But then if that person is really good in cooking, love to cook, maybe they hate phoning. So asking that person to phone me, you need to pivot. You have to pivot to see what other commitment they might be interested in doing. Next slide. And, okay. I am internet cut off. Okay. And give me some suggestions. Put it on chat, open your mic. I'm going to pick on the organizer. What do you think I should recruit? Khadija, is it okay if I recruit you to do something?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For the council, maybe? Yeah, okay. All right.
Oh my God, for the council. So what's the goal?
All right. Don't make it too hard, but don't make it too easy. Now,
so
what does the council want? Yeah, to what kind of volunteers do you want?
So which council are you talking about? Are you talking about CCMW or some other council?
Yeah.
CCMW.
So I'm gonna
Okay, I would think strategic connections with the government and policy, but I would say city, provincial, and federal.
okay, let me ask Miss Ali what the CCMW, what the council wants. What kind of volunteers do you need most?
So Olivia, we need someone to support our GBV project, so.
What
who's
kind of
pa-
support?
So in a way to be a voice. So let's say we are having training sessions and we need someone either who could present or who could recruit, individuals for the training, but really someone who is passionate about gender-based violence and wants to expand that learning in our communities.
Oh boy. Okay, you don't make it easy, huh? Well, let me try. Khadija, we are right now having a coffee. I booked you for a coffee in at a Tim Horton near you. Okay. And we have a bit of time, maybe 10 minutes or so, 10 minutes or 15, 20, it depends, right? But thank you for taking the time to come and meet with me. And yeah, I'm looking to find some support and on an issue that really are close to my heart. I don't know, have you had any experience in knowing someone that have been assaulted or hurt? Could be emotion or physical, because we're women. Have you had that kind of experience?
So since you've made this kind of a safe place between us, I would say yes, I have, and that is one of my. That's why it's ignited me to work with the crisis centers and shelters. So you've got me right there, Olivia.
Yeah, I quite many years ago when I was quite young, second, third year university, my professor sexually assaulted me. I didn't know to go to, now this is 70s, okay, I'm very old, but I didn't know to go to the university crisis center or rape center. I didn't know to report. I didn't know that I have any power. And I didn't know, I thought it's my fault. I felt ashamed. It absolutely wasn't my fault. I was a young kid. Like, I was barely 20. This professor was like 40 something, something like that, like old. He preyed on me when I was really young. And because I grew up watching violence in my family, it felt, yeah, you know what? It's maybe that's the way it is. And which is why I felt, oh my God, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And it's so important to break that silence. Have something like that also occur to you that makes you so passionate about wanting to do something, wanting to, you're putting all your energy towards it? Only tell whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Right. So first of all, I really appreciate you sharing. I'm sorry you went through all that. And I think that's quite a bit of experience. I think quite a few immigrants of all genders don't know how to navigate the system or understand. They come here, and like me, I moved here 22 years ago, and a close family member went through gender-based violence. And just to navigate the system without calling the police was so difficult to get security or safety for that person either. So all these things together made me explore. So yes, I think immigrant experiences are not heard enough. And I'm saying heard because even when they speak out, some of those calls are not taken seriously. So because of that, I've become very passionate with advocating.
What happened to your friend?
Took a long time because the police wouldn't take the incident seriously. They were very patriarchal. And so went through a lot of health issues. We had couch surfing different houses for almost a year. And because we didn't know about the system, the shelter system at that time, moving here. And so it was just very, and as a friend, I was there for her, but I was exploring like her, but at least like emotionally, I had her back. And the family itself was very patriarchal. So that was a bit of a, another war within the system. So yeah, took a long time for me to really get educated on this too.
Yeah. Did it take you a long time to start speaking out about it?
Yes, a few years, because I think the semantics, the language, I didn't understand in this culture. Not just saying I need help. You and your victims sometimes get victimized. They keep going into the PTSD makes them. So yeah, it took a long time to understand the importance of the evidence and things. Like I didn't know that whole system, and so I couldn't help her as much. So I could only support her emotionally. But yeah, funding, lack of funding.
Yeah, well, this is long, all the problems.
Right, because you're injured. How are you going to do anything? Yeah.
But what gives you hope? Like, do you go for walks? Do you go for watch Netflix? Do you like to cook? Do you like to swim? I find that when I go to nature, it gives me the strength. When I watch the sunrise or sunset, wow, it's so beautiful. My problem is so small compared to all that. What gives you the strength to go, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep speaking out? What gives you the strength? What do you like to do most?
Well, I put my energy into art. So I try to paint of different emotional experiences, and I try to talk about it during the exhibition. But I think you brought up a good point, like wow, what keeps me going? Because you see positive things happening from survivors, whether that's all these issues that we've heard of celebrity nations, whatnot. But if people are getting heard, and there is some semblance of justice, even if it's a percentage better than yesterday, then and then again there's a dent if something happens with so I'll stop. I think this has been pretty long.
Funny, my degree is also in fine arts. I love painting and sculpting. Do you know people that would like to share some of their experience, their hardship, but in a way that said, I am strong, I can speak out on it, but not necessarily just in words. Be great to have even, I don't know whether your friend will speak out about it, but using art, using music. Do you think you'd be interested in bringing some people together to explore ways that we could say, survivor, not just a survivor, we're strong, we can do a whole lot of things together, we can change the system together? Would you be interested in finding 1 or 2, 3 friends like that, or colleagues, or whoever?
Yes. So 1 or 2 or 3, yes. And my challenge has been, I think, for a lot of people here, when it's a sensitive issue like gender-based violence, it's anonymity and whether they want to disclose their name. And so that's been my challenge.
They don't have to, it doesn't have to be public, right? Why don't we get together to support each other first and look at how we're going to talk about it or paint it or express it? Some people don't want to do that. That's okay. But they're there to support each other, right? So if we could bring 4 or 5 people together, I could recruit one, maybe you could recruit one. I have a friend who is an art therapist, and she went through a horrible experience when she was a kid. She almost killed herself, and she survived, and she has turned her art, her passion, into helping others through art therapy. So, it'd be wonderful if you could recruit 3 or 4 people, or 2 or 3, whichever number you think. Do you think maybe in a week we could come together? You can bring 1 friend or 2
definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Today is a Tuesday.
Yes.
How about next Tuesday? I'll
Yes.
call up my friend. Maybe you have 1 or 2 friends. Why don't we come together? No assumption what we would do together, whether we're public or whatever, that's a decision each person will make. But let's come together, talk about it, support it, so each other. We could do by maybe talking, maybe art. We can do it through to Zoom too, because you can paint together.
Sure,
and-
yeah.
yeah, it'll be fun to do. Let's explore that. Next Tuesday, maybe we can book a time. What's a good time? Maybe 5 o'clock or something. We can have a coffee first here. It could be at my place at a local Timmy's. Maybe probably Timmy is a bit too public. My place, or something like that, or in Zoom. What do you think? 5 o'clock? Yeah.
Yeah, fine, not
Right,
5.
5 o'clock,
No, not
okay,
5. I think a little later though. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will call you. Today is Tuesday. I keep forgetting. Okay. This coming Friday, I have 3 or 4 more days. It's a long weekend coming. I'm going to call my friends. I'll call you Friday at say 4 o'clock. I'll text you to see whether you're able to find 1 or 2 people. And then we could think about when we get together on Tuesday, what that agenda look like. Okay. How long would it be? Let's get together. No assumptions, but let's explore how to support each other. How we could learn a language that make us strong. Maybe learn some art, and let's just explore together. Wouldn't that be? It'd be great fun. It'd be wonderful.
Great. That would be great. So the people I will bring, I just have 2 expectations. One is that it's a safe place to talk, and they feel safe.
Yep.
And it's not a one-way approach. So everybody brings in their voice and what their expectations. And at the end of the day, let's see, commitment is up to them. That's
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah. Wow. And I'd love to see some of your art. And I'll show you some of mine too. Okay, great. I will text you or phone you on Friday at 3 o'clock and just see how you're doing, how I'm doing. And then we'll reconfirm it again for next Tuesday at 5. Okay. All good. All right.
Thanks, Adela.
Yay. Thank you. That's great. I can't wait. Wow.
So, but you do know your charisma came through.
No.
And I don't know. For me, I know that is a bit of a gap.
No, it's
I'll stop
not.
there.
Well, okay. Well, Lindsay, you go and do some debriefing. How did we do? Lindsay, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Debrief us. How did we do? I don't know.
Yeah, so maybe everybody could help us with the debrief. So what values and resources did they uncover in their meeting? What were the values and resources uncovered?
Well, or even like, how did we connect? Because remember we said connect, explore, ask.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the connection come from?
Yes. So in the chat, we have Katie saying they had shared interests. So music, art, love of art. Jackie says it was a natural conversation. It was smooth and you connected and shared via experience and shared interests. Again, art.
Yeah. Well, the first connection really was, I came straight out because I knew it was going to be gender-based violence. I came straight out and Yvonne Bryn talked a bit about myself.
Right.
And then after that, asked her, Khadija, what experience she had.
Exactly.
That's where it connected. The connection is we both have similar experience in dealing with gender-based violence in different ways. Right? We connected through our stories. That's where the narrative came from.
Absolutely.
Then I didn't immediately then ask her to do something.
Right.
I then went into exploration.
Mhm.
That's where the art came from.
Yes, yeah. But your ability to start the meeting in a vulnerable place, Olivia, by sharing your own experience, I felt it created that safety to be vulnerable and for Khadijah to feel comfortable to share. And Khadijah, you had mentioned, well, since you've created this safe space, I'll share with you, right? So
Yes.
I saw the connection, started from the very beginning, from as soon as you met each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how solidarity starts, right?
Mm,
Yeah.
What do we think of the ask? Olivia's ask. Was it strong? Could it be stronger? Was it clear? Clear timeline?
Yeah, I liked how Olivia put in, oh, so let's do it next Tuesday. And then on Friday, I'll check in with you so we can reconfirm. So it's sort of giving solid, not just, oh, we'll see about this. Get back to me when you can.
Right.
But yeah, sort of giving the timeline, giving the steps. Let's do this. Guidelines are very useful.
Absolutely. Being direct and precise. Yeah, and Nizat says it was very enabling. I agree with you, Nizat, because Olivia, you were very purposeful and direct in saying we're going to get together at this time, but then it enabled Khadijah to say, okay, I'm going to bring this person and this person, right? So you were part of that, making that commitment, right? It was back and forth. That's really strong. Jackie says,
Also, Olivia committed. She said, I'll bring in somebody. So the minute you see that, look, I'm in the cause, and this has happened to me, but I will do, then the other person says, okay, you know what? Then I can join this too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, never ask a volunteer to do something that you're not prepared to do. Because I hate making phone calls. I'm going to ask volunteer to make phone calls. No. Like, do something. Not everybody's good at everything.
That's right.
And you can be straight out. I could say that I don't know how to cook at all. If we're going to do a potluck dinner to bring people together, I will be the first to admit, but I'll go and get some liquids or something, I can go and buy something, but I can't cook, but right. It depends on the occasion, but yeah, it's important.
And it creates that shared commitment, right? That you're going to be pulling your weight as well, right? Like you're both in it together. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
This is
finally, Olivia, you managed my expectations because you said we're just meeting at this place at this time, and we'll be doing something like support, whether it's verbal or with art. So it managed my expectation also, like what, otherwise you're floundering, like, oh my God, there's a meeting, what's going to happen? So I really liked that, very clear, and yeah, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I wanted to leave it a bit flexible depending on the comfort level of the people. And I am ready in my back pocket at that meeting next Tuesday. I'm about to launch into something that said, hey, can we all bring some people? Can we all speak out? How many of you willing to say, okay, we may not all want to speak out, but how about if we can get 1 or 2 people to speak out? How do we record it? Should we do it? How do we do it? I have a beginning of a path to move people forward into something that they want to do. Exactly. And I want to explore with you on Friday to begin to think through. You have an idea who you're recruiting, I do. What would be the something we could do together? And then we would set the agenda for the Tuesday discussion, right? So you move it a step along the way. Okay. All right. So a break, and then you folks will have the chance to practice, connect and explore, and then ask. Okay. Back to you, Lindsay.
Thank you so much, Olivia, for jumping in and for that amazing fishbowl. What a great example for us. And thank you, Khadija. You're a great volunteer. I wish every single volunteer was exactly like you. Well done. So let's take a 5-minute break. The time now is 7:16. We'll come back at 7:22. Okay, so we'll see you all in 5 minutes, and then we'll do our breakout groups. I hope. Thank you. Hope you had a great break. We're going to go ahead and get ready for our breakout sessions. So in the breakout session, we'll be practicing the one-on-one. So here are the instructions. First and foremost, appoint a timekeeper to keep us all on time. Make sure everybody gets an opportunity to be the recruiter. And then one participant will volunteer to do the connect, explore, and ask first. So participant 1 will recruit one of the other participants for 7 minutes. And then we have a 2-minute debrief. And we keep doing that until each participant has had a turn to be the recruiter, to do the connect, explore, and hard ask. And then we'll come back together. All right, so I think we're good to go. And Amrit is going to get us into our breakout groups.
Yep, I'm just going to open them now.
Thank you. Hope that you had a productive breakout group and you were able to practice your one-on-one meetings. We're right at the end of today's training. Thank you so much for sticking with us through the training tonight. A quick kind of debrief. I'm just going to call on people. I hope that's okay. You can absolutely pass if I call on you. Don't worry, Khadija, you've done your part today. You have done a lot. I will not call on you. So we're curious, what was the easiest or the hardest part of connecting on your shared values? And I'm just going to throw that one out to Fazia.
Thank you, Lindsay. I think what I found from the exercise was I really had to hold back from launching right into what the organization was about, what we were looking for, going right into the hardcore needs. So it took a lot of holding back, being patient, listening, asking a few questions of the individual that brought to the surface their interests and helped bridge that connection with the organization and made it easier for them to see themselves as part of the organization.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a really great, like really well said, right? And I feel like we can all relate. Like when we're having a one-on-one meeting, we know what, we're thinking, what this person might be able to help us with. It's really hard not to launch right into that elevator pitch of why they should get involved. So thank you so much for sharing, Fazia, and thanks for letting me call on you.
You're welcome.
So what was the hardest or easiest part of exchanging interests and resources? And I'm going to throw that one out to Miriam.
Oh, there
Sorry,
we go.
I was trying to unmute. Oh, which Miriam? Sorry.
Miriam Ahmed.
Hold on, I'm back.
Perfect. Thank you.
What was your question again, Lindsay? Sorry.
Okay, so what was the hardest or the easiest part of exchanging interests and resources in the one-on-one meeting?
Honestly, I personally didn't find too much of a problem. I think we connected, the dialogue brought up such points that we connected really well and very easily. I don't think it was a struggle. I'm speaking on behalf of all three of us. We were able to flow with the conversation quite easily and make those connections. And maybe it's just the luck of throwing the three of us who have common interests and backgrounds together. So it actually made it quite easy. I can definitely see if you're with people who have different interests, it'd be a little bit more of a challenge. Get them, to gain their interest and rope them in. But I honestly have to say, I didn't experience too much of a difficult time.
That's amazing. So you had very, volunteers who are just ready to say yes. That's amazing. Yeah, it's definitely easier to get to know someone's interests and resources when you have that similarity, right? Thank you so much for sharing, Miriam, on behalf of your group. And the last point, what was the easiest or the hardest part of securing that specific commitment at the end, that hard ask? And I'm going to throw that out to Shaheen.
There are a bunch of Shaheens, so
Yeah,
I'm not
which
sure if
Shaheen?
you're referring to me, but I'm Shaheen Sayed. Is that who you were looking for, Lindsay?
Yes, thank you, Shaheen.
Okay. I would say one of the aspects of securing a specific commitment was around getting clear. We were able to get clear about what the skill set that the person had and also the timelines that they could commit, so we could narrow down into that aspect. But on other aspect, one of the harder things was we almost vetted that. We were vetting, sort of saying like, okay, this is a good volunteer who has a general interest in this capacity. It was almost like a coordination role that would then go to the next piece, which is, okay, now we'd send you to Lindsay, who's going to find that specific role or project for you. So we were actually doing a little bit of in the moment brainstorming about how we might do this.
That's excellent. So involving the person that you're recruiting in that process of how can we find the best kind of fit for you, the best commitment for you kind of thing.
Yes, because there was this aspect of, I'd love to help, I'd love to support, I'm interested in learning and giving where you need me, as opposed to having a specific idea about how they would roll, because the organizational understanding was still limited.
Right. That's fair.
Lindsay, this is Nina. I was with Shaheen and Alina in the same group. And I also, to me, it was like, wow, it's not an easy role, that person that's coordinating volunteers.
Yeah.
At CCMW, we have one woman named Sabrine who does a really good job understanding where people find where we can put people. But I don't know, I don't have those skills, and when I see someone that has them, I know what it looks like, but I don't know how to turn me into one of those people. Like, that's tricky.
Yeah, I mean, and it takes practice, right? It takes practice with the one-on-one meeting concepts, right? But knowing that you have someone within your organization where that is their role to, help volunteers find their place, having the commitment be to meet with that person and move on to the next step, that's perfect. So thank you so much for sharing, Nina and Shaheen. Nizat, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I know, I think we're over time now, but I think, what helps is when you have a number of things that you need skills in,
Right.
Or projects that you're undertaking and people want to volunteer, and then you're able to give them a menu, of what is possible, what is out there that they could, but then you also ask them, was something missing? Is there something that we should be doing? Are you, what are you interested in, and what can you bring to it? So it is organic. But going back to the specific commitment, we had to be respectful of our work-life balancing issues to schedule our meeting.
Yes.
And of course, probably the other people that we were committing to bring to the meeting, they may also have similar issues. They may have young children to, get to bed. So that was an interesting conversation that we had. But Farwa, you can contribute. But I think that was our only challenge, really, because we had a very good back and forth about our shared values and our resources. So.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent summary, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to do that. But yeah, it's the nuances of working with people who have different commitments and maybe different hats on at different times. So that was definitely a good experience.
Yes, yeah, good practice navigating all of that, right?
And there are comments by Khatija in terms of the easiest things, talking about common experiences, recruit and ask to bring others and commit. Difficult part was exploring interests and hobbies and skills to understand personality. Then Anna Sayed wrote, making commitments.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. Frida, go ahead.
Sorry, I know we're almost there, but something amazing happened. So we had a small group of 3. So Wendy, Mariam, and myself, and Mariam and I are both from CCMW. But I think in that exercise or that mock exercise, we really found we want to know more about Wendy and the organization she works with, which is Native Women's Association. And we actually have recruited each other. So Wendy has promised to look into our gala. We're going to send her the information. And we in turn want to be part of every event that their organization holds to improve our own learning on Indigenous people. So I think that is a fantastic thing that happened, to say we have recruited each other during this session.
In real time.
In real time.
That's
Congratulations. That's amazing.
And a very similar thing happened in our group as well, between the Courage for Freedom and an organization that does eco-friendly gardening or rebuilding corridors for eco-friendliness. So it was really successful.
That's awesome. I love when a breakout session, when you're practicing something, becomes a real opportunity to network and make connections and get commitments from each other. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing, everyone. We are out of time. I don't want to rush us to the end, because I'm loving to hear how it went for you. And it really shows the learning that can take place when we have trust in each other and when we're committed ourselves to our own causes, right? We want to hang out for an extra 5 minutes. Like, why not? But I am going to, and Amrit, tell me if it's okay. I'm going to skip the key learning and the rosebud thorn, because we're over time.
Totally cool.
That's cool. Okay. But there is a feedback form. It's hyperlinked in the slide deck, which you will receive. So you can give your feedback on tonight's session that way. And Amrit is going to paste the link to this feedback form right in the chat. So you can either fill it out right now or just after we say goodbye, or you can fill it out tomorrow when you receive the slide deck. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for an amazing session tonight. It was really great being with you for the 3rd week in a row. We're gonna take.
Excuse me for interrupting. The link is telling me that I need permission.
Okay, so
give me
Amrit,
1 second. I will fix
Amrit
that.
will fix that. Thank you, Shaheen. That's good to know. So Amrit will fix that link so that you can access it. And the next time that we're going to see each other is September 20th. And I believe Olivia will be doing the lecture on strategies. And this is a really great one where we think about our theory of change and how it propels us to win. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
Good night. Good night.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.